All right, so you're watching the Sports Roundup show with our NFL segment. We're going to start off, of course, with the LA Rams, the best team here in LA. Um,
I like that, Mike.
Unfortunate, yeah, the best team in LA. In my opinion, maybe the only team in LA because I don't see, I don't even know if the Chargers are still here. But anyway, the Rams, tough loss this past weekend against our hated rival. I don't want to say their name, but yeah, you can elaborate more, Cody. I didn't watch this game because I was watching the Dodgers game 7. Very great game, great win for our Dodgers. But yeah, let's head over to you, Cody. You watched the game, so you can talk about it.
Mike, but was it also you don't watch the game because you don't want to see no 49er jerseys? You don't want to see that
Yeah, I
either,
didn't
huh?
want to. Yeah, well, there was no fans, so it was okay. Uh,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
I
That
don't
is
like the
true.
49er fans either. So yeah,
Yes, yes. But nah, yeah, man. The Rams, they dropped the ball, Mike. I was telling this before we came on air. That was the worst defensive performance I've seen in a long time. Um, and I had a feeling, Mike. Funny story. We were just talking about on our baseball segment how I picked the Tampa Bay instead of the Dodgers winning. Last week, I was gonna pick the 49ers because I picked the Rams, of course, but I was gonna pick the 49ers because Mike Shanahan, excuse me, Mike Shanahan is Kyle Shanahan's father. Kyle Shanahan, who's a head coach of the 49ers, came from the same offense and everything from the Redskins when, excuse me, the Washington football team, from when Sean McVay, who's the head coach now of the Rams, they were together on the same staff. So Sean McVay always said that they can have the same similarities and whatnot. And Kyle Shanahan, his offense exposed the Rams defense. He probably knew what they was going to run and everything. How Sean McVay, even though Sean McVay mostly does offensive coaching, he still has some influence on the defense. So he probably knew what Sean McVay was going to do, and he picked the Rams defense apart. Mike, um, you mentioned this. I don't know if it was last week or a couple weeks ago. You were still worried a little bit about the Rams defense. I think it was versus the Giants, maybe, or not the Giants, but no, Buffalo. I think it's Buffalo. You
yeah,
was kind of
Buffalo. Yeah,
about the defense because all the Rams throughout the whole season have just been playing zone, pretty much, with the new defensive coordinator Brandon Staley. The 49ers picked that zone apart. All they did short passes because the Rams, we don't allow nothing to get beat. We keep everything in front of us with the zone. Um, so the 49ers did everything short, ran the ball, had over 100 yards rushing and everything. So the Rams defense to me got exposed finally. I told you this, it was going to take some time after some weeks for them to see all these other teams start scouting. You always bring up adjustments. Mike loves to bring up adjustments, and that's one of the big factors in every sport, which I love when Mike brings it up. And that was one of the main keys. They didn't make no adjustments when they tried to. It was fourth quarter, it's too late. But main thing, Rams defense got exposed, Mike.
yeah, and they were of course losing the whole game. From what can I see here on the stats, they held the 49ers only 3 points in the second half, but it was just too little, too late. They were playing catch up the whole game.
They were playing catch up the whole game. The offense couldn't really do anything. I think it's because what Kyle Shanahan knows from Sean McVay, since they have the same similarities. So, to me, the Rams coaches got out coached, and they just didn't show up. Prime time game, they didn't show up. They neutralized Aaron Donald the week before versus Washington. He had 4 sacks. It didn't do nothing this past
But
Sunday.
Jimmy G had a lot of time then.
Mike, when I mean a lot of time, he could have did a whole 360, looked around, faked like he's about to throw it to the other end zone. That's how much time he had. But to my point though about the Rams keeping everything in front, they did throw a lot of short passes. They was mentioned a lot, so he wasn't dropping back for like 5, 7 seconds. But 49ers still they whipped their butt.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. I want to ask you. So, you think you're a little concerned now with the Rams going to the playoffs after this loss? Do you think they're kind? It's kind of up in the air now because we know they're in a very tough conference and division. So, this is a big loss this past Sunday.
Mike, if you think about this, um, all 4 teams could, because with them adding 7 teams now to
Yeah,
the play, all 4 teams from the
to make
NFC
the
West
playoffs.
could make the playoffs. And if I'm correct, you were saying this earlier that probably 2 of them will definitely would like get it,
Oh yeah,
but
for sure.
uh, Arizona is 4-2 now,
Yeah,
three
they're
and
the
two.
same as the Rams. Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course the 49ers won. Seahawks is 5-0. So Seahawks play the Cardinals this week. So that would help out the Rams. But um, 4 teams could make the playoffs. So from the NFC West. But to answer your question, it's going to come down to the defense. I think it'll come down to the offense, but more than likely, I have faith in Sean McVay to get it turned around. But it's going to come down to this defense because teams are starting to, after was that 6 weeks now, they're starting to figure out, because as I mentioned before, with the new defensive coordinator,
Yeah.
people know how they played, but now they started switching it.
And I think the Rams, if you look at their schedule, the bulk of their schedule is going to start pretty much now. They're going to be hosting
Remember,
the Bears.
you mentioned this, that schedule was going to start getting harder.
Yeah, pretty much. Then they of course go to Miami, which is probably not going to be easy now with Tua starting. Then they got Seattle, Tampa Bay, the 49ers again, Cardinals, Patriots, and then of course the Jets. That's an easy game, but then they got the Seahawks and Cardinals to close out. So really only about 2 easy games, or maybe one easy game, the
Probably,
Jets, right? That's about it.
wouldn't you say, Mike? Probably only one?
Probably just one, probably just the Jets, because even the Miami game, I think with Tua starting, it's
It's
going to
going
be
to be
tough.
fans.
What is it? I didn't hear the last part.
It's going to be fans, Mike.
Yeah, it's gonna be fans up in Miami or down in Miami. So it will be a road game for sure. It'll be the first time the Rams will be playing in front of fans this season. So we'll see how that happens. And then let's talk a little bit about Monday's game, because that's the next game. The Bears have been pretty good this season. Nick Foles is now the starter. He took Trubisky's job. Their defense is probably maybe the best in the league right now. So it's gonna be a tough game on Monday night against the Bears.
So based off what was that, 5 weeks? Of course, you didn't get a chance to catch last week's, but based off 5 weeks, would you say that the Rams have a shot to be up there with Seattle, or maybe
I don't know.
wild?
I think after losing last week, I think they may have to settle for a wild card spot. It's going to be hard to win that division unless Seattle, of course, starts losing. But the way they're going, they look like a Super Bowl team contender this season. I know they made a lot of additions, and it's really paying off for them from the offseason. So yeah, it's going to be tough. But I don't think the Rams are going to miss the playoffs, especially with the expanded playoffs now. But as we know, being a wild card team in the NFL, you're kind of already up against it, right? You have to go on the road. It's not easy on the road. January, some teams have snow and all that, so that's obviously a disadvantage. So yeah, it's going to be a tough road ahead. The Rams could easily fall out of this too, right? They could easily head into a losing streak and quickly fall out of the playoffs, because that's how good the NFC is. And they're not in the NFC East, so they're in the West, and yeah, it's going to be tough.
And to talk about the game on Monday, that's one of the other teams, because Green Bay has a good record, and the Bears have a good record. So that could be one of the teams that could be battling with the Rams for a wild card spot. To your point, and it's going to come down to, they played each other a couple years ago, or it was last year, and then I remember they neutralized the Rams offense. They use a new different type of defense that the Rams never seen before, and this was one of the reasons why they were saying the Rams should go to more traditional tight end sets instead of always 3 wide receivers. We were talking kind of about this before the regular season started, but this is going to be a big game. Like you mentioned, the Bears are 5-1, and it's going to come down to defense probably. Because Nick Foles is sort of like a manager on the offensive end. So it's going to come down to, can Aaron Donald get to Nick Foles, and then can Jared Goff not make no mistakes? He had a bad game, missed throws for this past week versus 49ers. And Mike will probably be watching this game, so Jared Goff don't make no mistakes.
Yeah, we'll be watching on Monday night. And it's going to be every time, of course, the Rams play on prime time. I think it's always a bigger deal, right? National TV.
And I always sorry, Mike, to cut you off. I just want to say one thing. These games, these out of division games, are big too because I remember I think it was Sean McVay who said it last week. The divisional games sort of count like 2 wins or
Yeah.
2 losses. So let's say you lose or you win, you definitely got to get these out of conference games because those will come in handy, as you mentioned before, when the playoffs come down to the end.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens on Monday night. I want to thank everybody who well, yeah. Before we end this video, who do you got winning on Monday night, Cody?
Uh, I, I'm gonna go Rams. I was trying to go against all LA this this weekend, but no, I got the Rams. I think they're gonna bounce back. I'm gonna go low scoring because I did not like the offense last week. I'm gonna go 10-7 Rams. 10-7.
Wow, really low scoring. I'm gonna
How about
say Rams 17, Bears 10.
17-10?
Yeah,
Bears is good. Bears is good.
yeah. So we'll see what happens. Make sure you subscribe and like our page. Thanks for watching, everybody.